Some of you knows me. My name is Father George. I'm the parish priest of St. Constantine, the Romanian Orthodox Church, part of the Orthodox Church of America. I have the honor today to have among us His Eminence Archbishop Nathaniel and all the brothers in Christ and sisters in Christ. So thank you for coming today for the 35th meeting of OCL Orthodox Church late in America. And also in this meeting we are going to have a presentation done by Florian and some other people regarding the AIOPA. Most of you do not know what this acronym AIOPA means. We're going to find out today together. So thank you for coming here today, and as we the Orthodox Christian do, let's all start with the prayer. Let's say together in the name of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit. Amen. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil one. For yours is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory of the Father, and of the Son, and of the Holy Spirit, now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen. Glory to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, now and ever, and unto ages of ages. Amen. Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy, Lord have mercy. Master, give the blessing.
Lord Jesus Christ, our God, came upon this earth to take us into the kingdom. Bless this meeting today, and that the deliberations and our actions may be to the glory of your holy name, to that of your holy church, and to our eternal salvation. For we offer glory to you together with the Father and the Spirit, now and ever, and unto the ages of ages.
Amen. Amen. Thank you. Welcome. So, we're going to have a break down the road today, and I'm going to give you a tour to visit the church, which is next building here, very close. So that's going to happen in the break time. So one more time, welcome. We have the restrooms here on the left, the following. Then we have also some breakfast, coffee. If you need more, feel free to have whatever you need there. Thank you.
Thank you, Father. Good morning, everyone. My name is Peter Zaris. I'm the president of Orthodox Christian Laity for the last year. And I'd like to extend our welcome here today for what we believe will be an inspirational and nice educational event here this morning. So Orthodox Christian Laity is a 35-year-old organization that I've been a part of now for I think about 15 years, following in my father's footsteps. And we're an organization that advocates for, amongst other things, unity of Orthodox churches in America. And so this is our 35th conference annual, and the first back in person in a few years, so we're thrilled to see everyone in person and be together to pray and do the Lord's work and hopefully bring us all further together. What's exciting about this program today and why we selected Atlanta earlier in the year, we've been running monthly series, call series, educational for us to learn ourselves and to help bring other Orthodox faithful together to learn on issues of unity. And we were introduced to the work of AIOPA, and it was so exciting to see a model of what we have here in Atlanta, where we see full cooperation across jurisdictional lines, and so it's so inspirational to us, and we would like to see ways to bring that to other parts of the country as well. And so we thought, what better place to hold our annual conference than to try to come to Atlanta. So you all have seen the agenda in front of you on the screen. I'll get us started here by introducing Father Christos Mars, and he'll introduce further introduce the rest of the people that will be speaking on AIOPA. But Father Christos was born and raised in Palos Hills, Illinois, a suburb of Chicago. We had the pleasure of getting to know him yesterday at the cathedral and seeing a tour there. That was a lot of fun. Father Christos attended Holy Cross Greek Orthodox School of Theology in Brookline, Massachusetts. Earned his master's degree in divinity in 2006, And then he also completed his coursework for a second master's degree in theology, specializing in linguistics. Liturgics, I'm sorry. Let's get it right. Thank you, big difference. He was ordained to the Holy Diaconate on May 21st of 2007, and to the Holy Priesthood in June of 2007. He's a parish priest at Annunciation Cathedral in Atlanta, where we visited yesterday. And Father Christos is the Vice President of the Metropolis of Atlanta Clergy Syndesmos, as well as the President of the Atlanta Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood. And so I'd like to introduce Father Christos and have him further introduce the rest of the speakers for AIOPA. Thank you.
David, thank you. Your Eminence, brothers and sisters in Christ. It is an honor to be before you today. I'm always nervous as a priest, even giving a sermon. I get nervous talking in front of people, so we always pray and think about the Holy Spirit to come down and guide us as we talk. I feel for you, Pete, because when I have to do introductions too, I'm just like, I have all the things in my head, and it comes out, and we look at this. We have this wonderful organization that is part of the Atlanta Orthodox Brotherhood, and we've called it AIOPA, the Atlanta Inter-Orthodox Parish Association. AIOPA, right? That sounds good, right? It sounds like a nice thing. What makes you a good organization? You have a good logo, right? It's fantastic. The logo actually is a play on two things. First of all, comes from the basic understanding came from the Archdiocese, the Greek Orthodox Archdiocese. We took this logo and changed the coloring and everything to match that of our Atlanta Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood, and then we took further that and adjusted it for our AIOPA group here, which is fantastic. I do have to do some shout outs to our other members who are coming up, Father Salzman, who will be speaking a little bit later on in the presentation, Toni, Taggart, who also happens to be from the cathedral, part of our parish council, and Florian, who just does everything for us, and he's from the community here. Florian, thank you for everything, for always preparing these things. All of the members of AIOPA bring a special talent to the organization. Each one wants to participate in the church. And for us here, in Atlanta, in the metropolitan area of Atlanta, we have a lot of opportunity for us to get together. We have an opportunity for us to worship together, to pray together, and my favorite one is to play together, right? To be able to come together and to do things. So during our presentation today, we're going to see some of the history, we're going to see some of the things that we have been able to do and accomplish in our short time together. So our agenda for what we discussed today is the Assembly of Canonical Orthodox Bishops, and AIOPA, the position of Atlanta Orthodox Church Brotherhood, and the positioning of that within the Assembly of Bishops, the Atlanta Orthodox Church Brotherhood mission statement and participants, AIOPA's mission, the 5 dominions and 5 work groups, AIOPA's activities plans and status updates, AIOPA's parishes, engagement relationship, AIOPA's maintaining momentum, and my favorite one, of course, is questions and answers. Because we all have questions, and we all want answers to our questions. There are some little answers that I may not be able to give. As you know, we have children at the cathedral. We have a school of over 160 students, and sometimes they ask me questions. I say, you guys can ask any question you want. I may not be able to give the answer, though. And they say, well, what do you mean? I said, there are just some questions I can't answer. And they're like, well, give me an example. And I said, what is the nature of the universe? Can't answer that. I'm sorry. Maybe one day, if I'm better, maybe. I can do that, but we'll see. Okay, so our agenda, we got through. The Assembly of Bishops have a mission statement and strategic areas of focus. This is what the hierarchs work on when they get together, and they have specific groups. And one of them is the canonical organization of the Orthodox diaspora, one bishop, one city. We are blessed here in the Southeast that we do not have many bishops here. We have one bishop in the metropolitan area, His Eminence Metropolitan Alexios. The next closest bishop is the Antiochian Church, who is down in Florida. So in our metropolis area, this southeast, we only have those two in separate spots. So from a canonical perspective, we don't have any of the issues of multiple bishops with the same title or anything of that in the same city. So the mission is there to preserve and contribute to the unity of the Orthodox Church in the United States of America by furthering her spiritual, theological, ecclesiastical, economical, educational, missionary, and philanthropic aims. So this is the strategic area of focus for the seminary bishops. And you can see that there are 16 committees, 16 strategic goals, and the Inter-Orthodox Parish associations fall under the section called Orthodox Christian Unity and Outreach, and under two subsections, one clergy matters and one canonical regional planning. The reason that falls under those two is because the canonical regional planning is the first part of where we fall in, but clergy matters also happens because if clergy are not talking with each other and able to discuss, it's hard to understand. So we fall into those two areas. And your evidence, if I make a mistake, please correct me. Please correct me. You're there, I'm not. I only read what happens. So the Assembly of Bishops Committee of the Canonical Regional Planning work with Pan-Orthodox Clergy Brotherhoods, therefore referred to after as Clergy Brotherhoods, and Inter-Orthodox Parish Associations, known as associations, consisting of clergy and lay representatives from all Orthodox parishes, to effectively facilitate and maintain Pan-Orthodox parish-to-parish communications, activities, and cooperation, the One Church Initiative, in a pilot metro area. So we were tasked, there were two pilot areas in the United States, and we'll get into some of the history of that with Father Anthony. There were two pilot areas in the United States. One was Atlanta, the other one was Akron, Ohio. It was later found that why we were chosen, as far as I know, and I can correct me, one was that here in Atlanta we had a strong clergy brotherhood, meaning a brotherhood that the clergy got together, and in Akron it was that they had a good laity getting together. So the idea was to see how that forms when you have a good, strong brotherhood, but not a good, strong laity to begin with, good, strong laity, but not a strong brotherhood, to see how it forms. So that's why we were chosen along the way. As a side note, for us here in Atlanta, the brotherhood formed in the year 2000. And that year it happened that there were many priests that came in via transfer, via changing of head priests at parishes, what it may be, from different jurisdictions. His Eminence Metropolitan Lectures thought it would be a good idea. He says, why don't you get together once a month, eat, discuss, don't have to spend a lot of time, a couple hours with each other once a month, to start forming. And that brotherhood began, and from there on, in the year 2022, thank God it's going strong. We continue to meet monthly, even during the pandemic. We met monthly, Zoom, but we were able to continue the dialogue. And because of that dialogue, I have no question, I could call a brother priest in Athens, Georgia, which is an hour away. I can call a priest from another jurisdiction. We talk, we check up on each other, we see how everyone is doing, to maintain our relationships with one another. And that was the beginning of the foundation for AIOPA. We continue also to work with the Committee for Clergy Matters to identify entry points for studying and strengthening clergy brotherhood. So it's always important to know that what we can do can always be better. We're not perfect. None of us is perfect, right? We continue to work every day along the way. And my favorite thing is I did okay yesterday, I'm doing better today, and hopefully tomorrow I'll do even more, right? If I can make it. All right, and then the other thing is to expand the One Church Initiative to help establish effective clergy brotherhoods and associations in several other metro areas to be determined. So part of the pilot program is for us to come up with ways in which things can continue naturally in other areas of the country. Now, what works for us here may not necessarily work in another region of the United States, but a foundation can be set, and we are actually creating, Florian, we have to have some information about those things so that can be given off as like a toolbox, a toolkit to help begin in different areas. Again, there's a lot of things that it's important to remember. The United States is large, and each area of the United States has its own geographic issues, problems, quirks, things of that nature. I came from the Midwest. I came down to Atlanta because my wife is from here. Then I had to learn a whole new dialect of how to speak. When I first came, someone said, bless your heart, and I was like, oh, thank God, you're so kind, you're invoking God's name. And then I realized maybe it was a backhanded compliment because bless your heart can also be, a little way saying, oh, you're trying, they're there, good job for you. So you have to learn like dialect, how to say shoes. I say gym shoes. There are tennis shoes here, and if you're from Northeast, it's sneakers. Right? Chicago, Midwest, we say pop. Here we say Coke, and then in the Northeast they say soda. So when you say Coke down here, because we're the land of Coke, then you say what kind? And you say Sprite, or you say Diet, or whatever. So these are things that you have to learn in the areas. But I bring that up because these are, when you look at the toolkits and the things that are trying to be created, when you create in other areas, you have to kind of keep it basic so that each flavor can come in. And I'm not talking about sodas. All right. So the Atlanta Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood mission statement and participants, who's participating in the Brotherhood. The Atlanta Orthodox Clergy Brotherhood is under the care of the Assembly of Canonical Bishops of the United States of America. Its mission is to bring people the knowledge of the Orthodox Church and to assist those throughout the city of Atlanta who are in need. So we have that kind of mission statement, and these are the participants of the Brotherhood. We have the Cathedral in Atlanta, St. Christopher Hellenic Orthodox Church, Holy Cross Greek Orthodox Church. That one is in Macon, Georgia, which is 1.5 hours away from Atlanta. St. Philothea, that's an hour away in Athens, Georgia. St. Raphael, Nicholas, and Irene, that's in Cumming, Georgia, about 45 minutes away. St. Elizabeth Orthodox Church, they are 1 hour 45 minutes away, I believe, from there. St. Mary of Egypt Orthodox Church, they're closer to us. St. Mary Romanian Orthodox Church, about 30 minutes away. St. Stephen and Paul Serbian Orthodox Church, about 25 minutes away. St. Elias Antiochian Church, 20 minutes. St. James Antiochian Orthodox Church, 45 minutes, closer to you, Father Anthony. St. Stephen Antiochian Orthodox Church, that one is north, about an hour away. Church of the Advent, Western Rite Orthodox Church, that one is about 40 minutes away. St. Basil Orthodox Mission Church, also in Marietta, about 45 minutes away. St. Vincent Hill Church, 20 minutes. St. Innocent Orthodox Church, I don't remember that one is at right now. St. John the Wonder Worker, downtown Atlanta, about 30 minutes away. And St. Mary Egypt Orthodox Church, about 30 minutes away. So these are the participants. These are the churches. This covers all of the Orthodox churches in about a 2-hour drive in the state of Georgia, not counting Savannah. Savannah, Georgia is too far a drive. So we go to Macon, which is about halfway through the state, all the way to the border of Georgia, and then on each side. So Georgia's bordered by 5 states. I learned that because my son had a test. I got it wrong. He got it right. So that's the important part, that he gets it right. It doesn't matter if I get it wrong. So that's a lot. That's a lot. And we get together monthly. Now you're going to say, does every priest from every church come? Sometimes they can't. There's a funeral, there's something going on in the parish, maybe they have a hierarchical visit, maybe there's an emergency that happens. But on average, we have 15 to 20 brothers every month. 15 to 20 brothers every month. And then there's a core group that we always know is going to be there. I mean, we're always here, right? Father George is the secretary. He's the secretary of the Brotherhood, so he doesn't have a choice. He has to come and, Anyway, I'm the president. Father Anthony always has something to talk to us about for the youth and college students. And so we come, and what do we do together there? We get together, and we don't just have a meeting like, oh, we're going to, we get together, we talk about something. Each of the brothers gives, they're asked nicely before I follow telling them to do something. They give a discussion, a small thing for us, maybe a 20-minute presentation for us to talk about something. Sometimes we bring in outside speakers. This whole year so far has been outside speakers.
Do you move around to different, do they always come to Atlanta or do you
Great
go?
question. So we used to move around to other churches, and the churches would provide meals, but what we found is that the cathedral happens to be the central location for everybody. Now, it also happens that I'm the president, so I can choose the location, which really works well. But since we provide food at no cost to the priests that come and things like that, the cathedral has happened to be, when you look at a map of Atlanta, is literally the center, and everyone can come into there. And it's not just because we host the Brotherhood there. It's also talks about the sizes of parishes when we do Pan-Orthodox events, that it happens that the larger parishes can handle those things. We play around depending on the appetite of the people, depends on the appetite of the priests as well. We do things in other parishes sometimes during Great Lent. As an example, one year we did, a few years rather in a row, we did every Sunday evening, the Contrition Vespers, we went to smaller parishes outside of Atlanta, minus Sunday Orthodoxy. and we're going to different parishes. And we did that for several years, and it started off as a really beautiful opportunity to visit other parishes and to see things, and by the time the third year came around that we were doing it in a row, there was almost nobody at the services. So we said, we'll take a break and see if we can start that up again. COVID happened, so we had to stop. And we haven't discussed actually reinstating any of that yet, because we're moving slowly to see what is happening, and we're trying to focus on AIOPA to get that organization going. So this is something again to put on the slate to discuss. So, exciting, huh? Yeah. Okay. I have one more slide, right? I'm done? One more?
No, it's
Yes, I'm done. That was it. All right, so I finished my portion of it. I'm going to introduce now Father Anthony Salzman. He is the head priest, the Proistanos, at St. Philothea Greek Orthodox Church in Athens, Georgia. They chose the name St. Philothea because the name comes from the patron saint of Athens, Greece. And His Eminence Metropolitan Alexios says that any time a new parish is established in the metropolis, it must have a saint or an event that we don't already have in the metropolis. So you can't choose your church with the Annunciation because we already have an Annunciation, or many of them. Holy Trinity, St. George, etc., etc. So he asks for different saints to honor those saints. And since it's called Athens, Georgia, the community decided that they should be named after the patron saint of Athens, Greece. They had actually a discussion, right? You have a synonoia, right? You get together with them. Father Anthony has been their priest there since the foundation of the church, right? Almost?
First full-time.
Right. So you helped with their building, you helped with many things. So Father Anthony's been there like really long, he knows about it, and his other area of expertise is iconography. So when we ask a question about icons, don't ask me. I look at Father Anthony, I call him all the time, I say, Father Anthony, what does this mean? But I'll get back to you. He calls me back and says, this is what this means. So Father Anthony is going to speak to us now about some more slides. Father Anthony, thank you for taking over. It's less worrisome you're up here, I promise. Okay.
This is a great event. And I'll tell you why it's a great event. Because people had a vision a long time ago, 35 years ago, and back then it was kind of a pariah, Orthodox Christian laity. But now you go mainstream. And we have our founders here, and founders can kind of, if they don't see things happening, begin to lose hope. But they persevered and they stuck with it. And now we have AIOPA. And it says here that it started on the 17th, which is Bishop Alexios' name day, for St. Alexios of this year. And I know Florian has kind of been the mastermind of this. And I talked to him a little bit to find out who he was, what he was doing. He says, well, I'm used to doing mergers for multi-billion-dollar companies, and they usually take an hour and a half. A year and a half. So this is the Orthodox Church. You might find this a little more challenging. But he's done a great job. He has vision, he has understanding, he knows this isn't going to happen easily, as you have seen, but you have to have a little hope now. The fire's starting to catch. There's an organization in our little town in Watkinsville called ACTS, A-C-T-S, Area Churches Together Serving. I'd heard about it for a couple of years, and I decided to check it out. And then I went to one of their board meetings. They provide a food pantry for the local community. And I found out they've been around for 30 years. They just trying to get it going, trying to catch fire. And then that doesn't want to say something. Here, let's see if it stays on you.
I'm not a father.
Well, so they kept at it, and then as it began to spread, people began to realize this is a great thing. And within 3 or 4 years, it just exploded. Now they have more churches participating, they have more food than they know what to do with. But how did that happen? They persevered, they hung in there. So the whole thing of Orthodox Christian unity is creating relationships, getting to know one another. And that's why, well, we could be discouraged, oh, we have 25 people here today. Well, it's a matter of marketing, because when people experience it and they see it, they go, oh, and that's when the energy comes. So don't get discouraged. This is in God's time, in God's way. 35 years in Orthodox numbers is lightning speed. It's slow and fast. The fast is 400 years.
You're not bad in writing, brother.
We can't be discouraged. So this is what I heard. Okay, someone called me and said, or I got an email. Okay, this is what you have to do. You have to find one parish council member and one lay non-parish council member. And give us their names. And so I thought, okay, this is to resurrect our July Pentecost picnic and the cross diving. I said, okay, here's the people. And then I put it out of my mind. I said, these guys will take care of it. And then emails kept coming. I began to read them, and I said, oh, this is about Orthodox unity. Oh, okay. So our mission from the Assembly of Bishops, make Orthodox Church presence more visible and speak with one strong voice. Well, we started in March, and this is lightning fast. People are beginning to see and understand, and it's really a matter of education. And I'm really hoping Florian doesn't get discouraged, because you have to have a long view on this, because when people understand, they go, ah, and then you begin to get the draw in the people that are really committed to it. So what we're doing is we're trying to build community, get to know one another. And he wisely says, well, every parish has so much to do anyway, so let's not overburden them. But let's take advantage of that which we offer, okay, to get us together. So to address common interests, needs, and concerns of church members, so we hear what's going on. And it really did start with the clergy brotherhood. Father Bishop Sebastian now started this a long time ago. I came in 1999.
Yeah, he was voluntold to be the president the first year, because they had to get together. And then after that, that's where it began, have all that information on our website after all that began. So it's good.
And I'm involved in OCL, Orthodox Christian Fellowship on campus, and I know if you don't get their attention, these incoming freshmen, if you don't get them in the first 2 weeks, you'll be chasing them for 4 years. Well, what happened was, these things have become a lot of fun. It's a little break. They feed us. We get to see our friends. We come away edified. It's not a burden. It's a joy. So that's the secret. That's the key. So we're trying to build these strong associations of local Orthodox communities, and that's all parishes, all jurisdictions to get together. So little by little, we just had the Serbians join. It took a while, but you keep at it, keep at it, keep at it. And to share talents and coordination. So if your ambitions are too high, you're not going to get the people. But if you're not doing anything, well, that's not going to work either. So you need that balance, as we were talking earlier, that harmony, as Peter said. All right, so we want to encourage communication, interaction among parishes, minimize jurisdictional barriers among the parishes. And why is that important? In real life experience, someone comes to me and they want to do something, and I say, oh no, our bishop can't do that. He said, we have to, this is how we operate. So they didn't like that answer, so they go next door. And that's not a problem for them, so they'll do it. So they're playing the parents off against each other. That's why this is so important. We really need to be of one mind and be on the same page. So, and develop a strong sense of one local Orthodox Christian family. And that's the only way that this is going to come about. The Assembly of Bishops can't force it. It has to happen naturally. And how does it happen naturally? We get together. We get to know each other. And so as that happens, it's like catechumens. They come to me and they say, they want to become Orthodox. I say, I don't make you Orthodox. I recognize when you become Orthodox in your way of thinking and your understanding of personhood and fasting and prayer. So the same way here, it's not going to just happen magically. It takes wisdom to not overburden, but to give it time and persistent presence so people begin naturally to come together and establish those relationships. So eventually what we have with the clergy brotherhood is we know each other, we love each other, and then it'll happen. So we have 5 domains, 3 under doing, 1 under developing, and 1 under communication. So the doing part, religious, social, and charity. And what we've done, and this is the brilliance, and this comes under communication, is when we hear what other people are doing, we put it out on the website. We tell people. So, and then once the event happens, we send in pictures. So of the event, for instance, we had the Liturgical Arts Academy up at the Diaconia Center for chant and for iconography. And so people come together from all jurisdictions all across the United States to learn Byzantine chant, and I teach iconography. And then we publish those things so that people, it's a matter of information, they see what's going on. If we're having a charitable event, if we get together for, like Christmas is coming up, we always do a Pan-Orthodox Christmas. We do Pan-Orthodox service with a speaker. Those things are established. So it's a way of communicating and getting the word out. So we have the religious, we have social events when we get together, and for charity. And right now you'll hear about a charity event that's going on. So that's the doing part of it. The developing activities that allow us to learn and grow together as a team, deeper and faster, and each one of us can do in our own parishes. And those connections happen naturally. And then we begin to see this, first of all, acquaintance, getting to know each other, and then participate. Like today is the Greek festival up in Cumming. So we've spread that word, we put announcements in our bulletin, and we begin to hear, our parish begins to hear what's going on in the Orthodox world, in our area. And then communicating activities intended to spread the word about the work we're doing and the results we're having as well, and stay connected with the relevant stakeholders. And that is where the branding comes in, and people begin to understand and are enlightened about what we're going to do. And then you'll see those that are interested will gravitate naturally. Initially, I assigned 2 people. I said, you 2 are going to be participating in AIOPA. Well, one of them has showed up at every meeting. Now, I haven't heard too much from, because the one gravitates to it and says, yeah, I would like to participate in that and be part of it. So this is God's work, and we can't just get discouraged, and we can't get bitter, we just have to keep plodding along, and hopefully it will happen. It may not happen in your lifetime or my lifetime, but we've laid the foundation, and may God bless that work. And next, we have Toni. Tell us what she's up to.
Still some thunder.
Sorry.
Toni is a member of the Constantine Cathedral. She's on the parish council. So she represents some ladies, like you said, from the parish council side. As Father had mentioned, that each parish was asked to get a member of their respective councils and a member of the laity at large. And one of the thought processes to this is that sometimes the laity doesn't tell the administrative portion what's going on. Sometimes the priest doesn't tell the administrative portion. But we have a representative of the administrative portion so they can give reports at their council meetings about what has happened. So Toni will be speaking to us in that respect. Thank you.
Good morning, everyone. Thank you, Father. I appreciate you giving me the opportunity to be here. Being the laity of the group. Please, Father Christos, correct me if I say something incorrect.
You're doing a great job. Keep up.
So I want to talk a little bit about the 5 groups that are up here. And as you can see, there's names of each individual who belongs to that group. I do belong to a social group because I chose to be, because I am out there. I'm more of a social person. I enjoy meeting people and getting people together and trying to unite everyone together, and in that sense of together. So we, as Father Anthony has said, the first 3 groups are kind of the areas that we focus on, and then you have this, well, in this case, no, let me turn that down one because it's right there. There we go. So the first 3 groups are the areas that we focus on, and then you have the social group, which is the group that I'm in that kind of tries to bring those 3 together so that we can present them out there for everyone to see. So how do we get more people involved? We get more people involved by explaining to them what we do. And that's where our communications group comes in, so they spread the word. So the social group kind of grabs everybody, grabs all the events and the people together, and we look at how do we get that information out there, and the communications group literally puts it out there. So how do they put it out there? They put it out there in websites, in the chronicles, in the parishes who spread the word around to everyone. Because the idea is for the unity, for us to become unified together as not necessarily one church, but one community. So think about this. How wonderful would it be when you're looking at some of these events out here, and I did give each one of you a copy of this because I want you to take it with you. I want you to spread that word around to your parishes and your communities, let's put it that way, into your communities, and get more people involved. How can we get more people involved? Because the more people we have involved in AIOPA, the more we're going to be able to unify and a lot quicker. I realize it's going to be 35, 40 years, however long it's going to take us, but we're going to be persistent, we're going to keep going. But think about, when you look at some of these events that are out here, let's start down there on the religious side. When you look at how wonderful would it be if we all came together in one big Christmas concert. I realize that each parish may or may not have their own Christmas concert, and that's fantastic. And we would like to know about that. We'd like to come and see yours. We'd like for you to come and see ours. Well, wouldn't it be great if we all got together and had one big Christmas concert together? I think that would be an amazing thing for us to do. We look at different charity events. We've had some charity events that are local. We've had some charity events, as you can see, where the first one was in Mexico. But we get people together from the different parishes, and we go and we help out the communities lots of times, many times right here in our own communities, but sometimes it's outside of our communities as well. I like this one. This one's turned out to be a big thing. How wonderful is it that all the parishes can get together, sit around at a round table, and swap ideas and areas that we can all grow together as one. But it's great when you're in your parish and you're working on your own parish and you're helping your own parish grow. We want that to happen. But there's so many ideas that can be shared amongst all of us. So once we all get together, so that's actually been a really good one. And Father Christos, you may or may not want to talk about that one a little bit later on. I personally was not involved in that, but I've heard some great things that came out of that. Or just being part of the community. How about just gathering and sharing community with people that you don't know, meeting new people. I didn't know Florian, right? I didn't know Florian. I did know Father Anthony, of course I knew Father Christos, and I knew some of the others, but it's amazing how many people that I've met just by being a part of this group. AIOPA's been great for that, and I didn't know about all these events, but they've been great. I personally have been to many of them. Was it last week? 2 weeks ago, went to the Serbian festival. It was fantastic. You know what I liked about it was because I went for the food. I'm not gonna lie, I went for the food. I did get to visit church, got to be a priest. But I got to see that the food was very similar to the Greek food, which I'm used to because that's the church that I attend. But it was different, and it was fun. It was the same thing when I went to, last year I came to the festival here. Same thing, I enjoyed the food that was here, because I'm just a foodie, that's who I am. I enjoyed that. But there's lots of things, right? It's about community. You get together for a golf tournament. You can get together and maybe even help out at some of the festivals. And I'm sorry, I totally forgot your name. She came and helped out at our festival last week because we needed, was it last week or was that 2 weeks ago? Okay, 2 weeks ago. Yeah. Yeah, it feels like it was last week. Because the festival in itself takes up more than a village to run, right, with volunteers. So she came and helped us. We go and help others. And it's not always about helping. Sometimes it's really, to me, it's about just getting together and joining together in fellowship and fun and eating. So there's lots of events. As you look at your papers in front of you, and I know you can see it up here as well, as you look at that, think about what you personally would enjoy getting involved in. Where do your, I don't want to call it skill set's more of a business word, but where do your passions lie? Does your passion lie in development? Maybe you have really had some great ideas that you've never shared with anybody that said, you know, I think we could really do this. Maybe development's where you would want to be. Maybe communication is where you want to be. Florian has done a fantastic job at helping us with the communications piece of it and getting the word out there. But the website, these meetings, what else are we doing? The chronicles, all that kind of stuff, all that stuff is wonderful and it's a great start for us. But what's really, really needed are all of us together, right? One word of mouth, this word of mouth. We've got to get the word out there. We've got to spread the word to more and more people, because I think the more people who we talk to, the more people that we express this to and get them involved. Send them. I personally send everybody to the website because then they get to go on here and see exactly what we're doing. They get to understand a little bit better about what AIOPA is doing, and they also get to see what we've accomplished so far, what's coming up. It gives them an idea. I had somebody not long ago go, wow, I didn't realize there were so many festivals in the Atlanta area this year. They're everywhere. It's not festivals. It's not just festivals. It's everything. Right? I personally don't play golf, but a lot of people love the golf tournaments, right? So there's so many things we do. So what I would like for all of you to take away today, one small thing to take away, is sharing the word, because I think that's what's really, really important, is that we get the information out there and that we just, in a very small way, right? When you talk about an event or AIOPA or the organization or the unity, take them to that website, let them see for themselves. There's so many kinds of things to do, and get involved. If you know of anybody who would like to get involved, please send them our way so that we can get them hooked up in one of the groups, and yourselves as well. Thinking about which one of those groups that you would help us excel in.
The important thing here is how do we come up with this? In our very first gathering on the 17th of March, we took what everyone thought. We took all of their thoughts, we wrote them down, and with the help of Florian, we developed into groups. And the thing is that, as we started talking about some of the things that we wanted to do based on the overall survey, the overall talking of our first meeting, organic things started to happen within each of the suburbs. So an example of an organic thing that came out of it is in the development group. They started talking about certain things, and all of a sudden they said, it would be great if the parish council presidents got together to talk about things that are moving on in the parish. That was an organic development. It didn't come up at all as part of the initial discussion, the initial talk. And they developed it, they came up with it, they had a meeting, and they discussed it, and really had an enjoyable time about it. And as such, they themselves have said, okay, we're going to get together quarterly, 4 times a year, to discuss what's happening in our parishes, where we're at, what's happening. And they found, just by this little organic development of it, they found they had a lot of commonalities of the same issues in parishes. They found solutions in some cases, because already a president has dealt with them and said, this is how we do it. I never thought about it from that perspective. Let me see and go back and develop it. So organic things are happening. It's not just top down, this is bottom up on a lot of things that are happening, which is a really wonderful and beautiful thing.
Yeah, I agree.
Can I ask a question?
Absolutely.
I'm not from Atlanta, but I know from where I live that I heard about your fish and loaves program. And it's not on your thing here. I would think that would be something that, it's known that you all have one of the best feeding programs for the poor, homeless people. And I don't know, is it Inter-Orthodox or is it just one parish?
Yes, we have a beautiful parish, St. John the Wonder Worker. It's an OCA parish in the middle heart of downtown Atlanta.
Yes.
It's in an area that has a lot of homeless population, yes. And it's closest to the zoo, in case you wanted to go visit the zoo. It's right there. Before all of this happened, the priest that was there at that parish, Father Jacob Myers of blessed memory, began the program. And what the parishes have done and have always done is that they contribute, sometimes financially, sometimes with food, sometimes whatever. And that was an organic thing that we had done even before the establishment of AIOPA. So it's hard for us to take that and put that as a development of something that we did, since it was something that was already in existence before AIOPA even came into light. So I think, I can't speak for every parish, but I know that at the cathedral, it's a line item in our budget as far as contributing, giving, anytime that they ask if anything, we want food drives and things like that. It's become such an important part of the Atlanta area that people volunteer, people give, people do things. And even with COVID, how they've changed things, how food had been distributed, things like that, people still participated and gave. So I don't know if it's 100% fair to say that AIOPA did anything with this, but we do support it. But it was something that was a natural development for. We could probably add Florian maybe just as a
absolutely.
as an asterisk or something
Yes,
to
yes,
it. But it's not something that we developed. It was something that we had all known about in the Atlanta area and have freely contributed to along the way.
Some of these things were developed before you existed.
Correct, yeah.
That's-
We'll add the fish and those, yeah. We'll add
No, we're not saying we're
Yeah,
not
we'll add
actually,
it.
we want to have that asterisk that
Yeah,
it's not
we'll add
something that AIOPA developed along the way. I mean, you can't say that any of the religious services would be AIOPA's either, but the fact that we're getting together, you know, we never did a cross dive. This was the first time we never did a cross dive that was the first time we ever did that. The candlelight service was an experiment actually in 2019 with the Christmas concerts, and we liked it so much we were going to continue it. Then COVID happened. Pentecost Picnic was something they started a long time ago, and then again fizzled out because there was not participation by the.
I'm not criticizing.
No,
we'll add it.
I just know that that's a famous program.
Yeah, it is a famous program, but I can't say that AIOPA developed it or did anything with it in that sense. We support it as parishes throughout the Metro Atlanta area, but it wasn't something that our group came up with.
I think on the same line, I think on the same line, you could also, through association and through an asterisk,
Sure.
would solve this problem just for the communication purpose, so we know about it, or everybody else who doesn't know about it. But at the same time, I'm looking for the religious education, which I know you have a strong curriculum, and if that could be shared, would be amazing.
Sure, of course.
Instead of us just picking up.
Yeah, so this is a living document, right? We're not committed to only 5 groups, and we're going to say, I'm sorry, we're not going to add anything else.
Yeah.
This is just what happened since March, right? Since March of this year. So if you take March to November, what is that, 7 months? 6 months? Yeah. So, I mean, yeah. So, you know, in a year's time, you can come back and say, we have 9 work groups. I don't know, 7 work groups, whatever it may be. So that's a good one
Yeah,
that we
we'll
can add to the list.
Father, who initiated this?
Assembly of Bishops.
So the
The assembly.
Assembly of Bishops gave a document, a letter saying this. We were, I believe Atlanta was volunteered by His Eminence Metropolitan Director, since he knew the work that we were doing here. We received the information and we were told to begin the process of it. And from the time, the receiving of the letter and the process of the assembly took place towards the end of 2018. And with the start of it, COVID happened, everyone changed their whole process. So we came into it afterwards because of all the COVID issues, but within the time of receiving it, after following COVID, whatever, we got into the process and began our first meeting in March. And the goal was to at least have something that we had started with before the Assembly of Bishops meeting that was happening earlier in the year. And it was phenomenal. The Holy Spirit was there. It helped us to begin this process, and hopefully we'll continue along the way with all the wonderful work by all clergy and the laity together.
We actually
Please.
organically went right into our next section, which was the Q&A.
Yeah, it was good. It was good.
So I was going to say, if you would like to take the
Oh, no,
stage.
anyone can answer. Anyone can answer to that. There was more Q&A, I guess.
Any other thoughts, questions?
There's one more slide.
Is there?
There's one more slide?
Yes.
Did I miss one? Sorry.
Yes,
There
this
is.
is the most important.
I am so sorry.
Sorry, this is the most important.
So around you've seen the history, you've seen the genesis of AIOPA, you've seen the plans, Toni presented the activities that are happening, but there is this question like, how do you measure this stuff? How do you know this stuff is happening? Like you have an event somewhere and there are people coming to that event. Do you see islands, like, you know, parishes within the Greek Archdiocese, they just get together? I mean, Toni says she's going different places because of the food, but do we see that inter-jurisdictional collaboration, or are we seeing those eight parishes, they just get together?
Yeah.
The Greek parishes, they just get together.
Right.
The Antiochians, they just get together. So it's about how do we measure this? Is this truly a Pan-Orthodox thing, or is it just a collection of islands? And so we have this map, and I'll explain in a second what it means. Toni also mentioned that after each event, we look for two things. One is pictures from the event, and everybody takes pictures generally from the events, and then we post them on our website. But the second thing that we look at which parishes were represented on that event. So we asked, for example, when Father Anthony had the liturgical academy, we said, Father Anthony, you have a number of people. Can you just share with us what parishes they came from? We track this data. Okay, so we look at it. So we know at this event there were people from 6 parishes, 3 jurisdictions. At this one, 7 parishes, 2 jurisdictions. We track all the data. And we are presented here. So I'll demystify this chart in a second.
Do you have them registered so they have?
No, we're not getting to like names and stuff. We just ask whoever is preparing that particular event, whoever's in charge of these 5 orders, and they just track this data.
So it's kind of an estimate based on.
Well, it's not necessarily an estimate because they look and say, oh, I remember it was John from this parish, it was Jane from the other parish, and Jimmy from the other parish. That's what I remember. That's good enough for us. We don't have to go and do attendance because we don't have resources. But then we just look at the very high level, right? In some of these events like Liturgical Academy, which is an event that's like person by person, you can track that. But when you have like a festival with thousands of people, you can. But you can, because there's priests usually introduce to each other, say, hey, Father, what I'm doing here is my parish council president, so we try to do it. Every single dot in here is a geographical location of a parish in Atlanta. Father Christos spoke about the 19 parishes that we have in the Atlanta area in 7 jurisdictions, and you have actually, in here you have the 8 jurisdictions by colors. The map is a little bit skewed because we have, for example, this is in Athens. If you were to properly represent it, would be somewhere here to do the distance. So we just brought it a bit closer. We have, as Father Christos said, that data, right? Read down. We kind of brought it so it fits in the page, right? So it's not purely scientific, but we don't want to, right? So that's it. But the rest of it, they are the same, right? They are the same, and this is the parish we are in. This is the archdiocese. So exactly the Annunciation Cathedral. So that's why kind of you see how geographical it is. Every time a parish participates in an event, the size of the dot gets bigger. Okay? So we are having some parishes that we have some isolated dots here. There, right? We have 1, 2, 3 dots here. Working to bring them into the events. I mean, this is a work in progress, right? So you gotta look at, you can look at this one with what's happened, but we are aware that we need to bring more and more people into AIOPA. It takes time, but we're working through it. Every time 2 parishes are present in one event, the line gets thicker. Because when they, like these 2 parishes, different colors, different jurisdictions, every time we have representatives from both of them in one event, this line gets thicker. So that's how we measure the participation of the parishes, and more importantly, what Father Anthony said, the relationship.
So how long does this represent, just since March?
Since March. So we're tracking this in pretty much, I think we've tracked probably 90-something% of the events. We're tracking again. This is not intended to be a scientific measure, but it's a good representation of what's happening. So what are we looking for? Do we see lines between different colors? That's extremely important. Because that says this is Inter-Orthodox Association. Look at the colors here, right? These 2 parishes, different jurisdictions, with Orthodox here, Antiochian. You see lines getting thicker. They participate in events together. They meet, they talk, right? So that's how we measure. That's how we measure. Because we were thinking about this question, right? Well, how do you know this is working? Right?
Excuse me,
Sure.
Brian, the cathedral is the big one in the middle there.
Yes.
Okay. That's the big one up, the other GOA one up there.
That's Marietta.
That's which one?
Marietta.
Okay.
Okay. So we do have, I mean, we capitalize on the existing colors that are already in place, right? Because there are certain events that, you see more of the same jurisdiction participating, but again, we're looking for is this Pan-Orthodox, right? And that's how we track it, and we continue to track this, right? Now, there's a point in time, from time to time, we scale like back a little bit the dots because they become so big that they kind of. So we keep the scale, right? This is dynamically, but that's how we measure. So that's how we track it, right? So if someone says, well, this is really working well, this is what we have to offer to see that, yeah, we believe this is working. Yes.
So in the case of that beautiful concept that we're thinking we can do together, with all parishes that are going to contribute, get the credit to the dots.
Correct.
We all grow together because we all.
Absolutely. That's what we want. Yes. So we want to grow together. That's what it is. But again, I mean, we pay attention to this stuff, right? Because if there are isolated dots, we ask the question, well, why? What's going on, right? Now, the advantage here in AIOPA is that there is a limited number of parishes, a limited number of jurisdictions. So the way we approach this, it's much more person by person. That's how we approach it. Right? We're going to talk in a second here about general things that we are doing, but at the end of the day, it comes to how do we bring joy? How do we bring joy? It comes down to people. Like Father Anthony said, it's relationship. That's what we're looking for. Who do we know there? Who do we know there? Can we get and talk to them and bring here? But this is again what we have to offer here at this group. Now, Toni mentioned this is our website, so I won't feel offended this time if everybody goes on their web phones and check the website. But this is our website. So it's phone optimized. You can go on it, you can see the events, you can see the structure, right? It uses, like Father Christos said, it capitalizes on an existing website that is the Clergy Brotherhood website. But from there, we added AIOPA, we use the same framework, and so we're doing that. Right? So with this one, what I'd like to invite everybody to talk about where do we go from here, right? How do we maintain momentum? Because, Toni? No, because it's for all of us. So there is this idea of how do you maintain momentum of such an organization, right? And the bigger question is this self-sustaining. Do you generate enough value within the organization to say, well, this is self-sustaining? Or, maybe end, you have to look at what are the sources of energy you can bring from the outside to keep the momentum. We have to think about this, right? So far, so good, right? Moving in this, but how do we maintain it? That's important. The other thing that we want to make sure before we kind of go through this is that there is the idea that AIOPA was formed part of the Assembly of Bishops. As you know, Assembly of Bishops will dissolve once the problem is going to be solved. So will AIOPA as an organization. But what we hope it's going to stay, relationships. Right? That's the important piece that's going to stay. So you dissolve the organization, but people continue to meet. Hopefully we're going to have great food so Toni can enjoy it. That's the idea. The idea is to have this organization to run things, but then when you move away from the organization in itself, everything else keeps going. That's where we want to go back. So on this one, let me take the first one, understand the problem and we've done a survey some time ago in which we spoke about do people understand in AIOPA what we're here for? Do they understand what is this church need? Do they understand what is the one bishop, one city? So we run a survey to say, well, what is the understanding? Because you cannot assume that everybody is so familiar with everything that's going on. So we run a survey, and we came back and said, look, there's a need for education, and we prepare some materials, we share some materials actually from OCL that help people understand what is this whole thing about. You need that education, it's a continuous education that we need to have. And then one of the pieces that we're looking for we've done and we continue to do is to address what we call unjustified fears. Right? There's this idea that if you reach unity, something bad is going to happen. You have to address that. You have to expose it, discover it, and address it. Right? One of the things, just as an example, is, well, if we reach church unity, ethnic churches will disappear. But that's not true. But it was an unjustified fear. Why? Because people did not have access to information. We're uncovering that and saying, look, this This is the plan, this is how this is gonna work. Oh, okay, thanks for letting me know. Then on the same token, you have to address unreasonable rules. Like this is gonna happen by December. It's not gonna happen by December. Let's just be realistic, right? Father Anthony said it's a long journey. Let's take the meeting, right? So that's what I would offer to the first one.
And what we saw, what Toni mentioned, was this organic thing that popped up, and it was a big hit. Getting the parish council presidents together to talk to each other. Well, how that happened? The Holy Spirit is going to guide us and show us so that it is organic, and Florian has his finger on the pulse to see. He's the director of the seminary along with Father Christos. They're kind of, unrealistic expectations aren't going to help, so we have to avoid the two extremes and keep navigating this and responding to the Holy Spirit. So one thing I said today is, you know what, communication. I need a line item announcements of IOPA in my bulletin so people know what's going on. They're not overburdened, but we stay in front of them. So that's the branding, that's the communicating, and we're awfully young. I mean, since March this has developed. I don't know what's going on. All these dots and these lines and these connections. It helps. It gives people vision of where we're headed. So
The engagement of the hierarchy and direct dialogue is always an important part, because a lot of times we see that the clergy may be hesitant, because they said, I don't know if my bishop knows about this, but all the bishops are part of the assembly. So it's kind of important, but for them to receive the hierarchical blessing. Of course, His Eminence, with Father Alexios, is 100% committed and behind this endeavor that is happening, but he writes letters of support all the time. Florian reached out to His Eminence here. They spoke as a parish together. They received his blessing again to participate, and they're fully committed. We have received also from the Antiochian Church and also from the OCA. Who have done that, and a couple of the OCA brothers were hesitant. They wanted to start, like, I'm not sure yet. We received the letter, they're part. So it's important to know that the hierarchs know what's going on, and we continuously remind the brothers to reach out to your hierarch, to make sure that they know what's going on, to let them know what's happening, to be part of the communication part, so that they can feel supportive in asking their laity, their communities to participate.
Father, has there been any evidence of any resistance, or it's all been?
Great question. So there was one particular OCA priest in my community, or the parish, who was very upset, wrote a scathing email to myself saying, how dare you approach my people and talk to them, without my permission and things like that, which is kind of weird because I didn't get their names without him, right? He's been on the list, he's been on the communication, so it's not possible for me to have reached out to grab two random people, one from his parish council and one from his community, but he was not very happy with it. And then his bishop shared the letter. He has said that he will not participate, but did not indicate that the parish would not participate following that letter.
which is the waters we have to navigate. You have to expect that, and that's just overcoming the resistance or the fear, the unfounded fears. Florian and I, just an aside, is that we got to talking with someone in Minnesota, and they said, oh, we have a, what do they call it?
Mioka.
Mioka. And so we have this already. We've been doing this for years, and we have heavy emphasis on education. So there's little pockets of this around. So we need to just kind of discover and blow on these embers and burst into a flame.
I'm sorry, go ahead, what's the question?
Do you believe this is part of the process of perhaps leading to autocephaly for the United States?
I can't speak to that because I don't know what that process would be to go into that. Right now, we're working on this part, which is trying to make sure that we're all on the same page. It's kind of hard to be on your own if you're not together, right? So the first step is to be together, and that's what our task is, right? To kind of give that information. So,
but is the Synod of Bishops in that kind of community?
I don't know what they're talking about.
We'll have a session after this one. Yeah, there's the other one on the reaching out that I want to just mention there is, again, Atlanta is a pilot area, so we want to do things here, absolutely. But it's also in intended to be a model for the others. Like I said, you cannot just take 100%, but we want to share that. So we're reaching out to other organizations to understand, what's happening there. We have established contact with the Aiton, Ohio, but also with local organizations like OCL. We're in contact with also to say, hey, let's get a post from here. We're in contact with another organization, the Orthodox Christian Leadership Initiative for development. So we're reaching out to others to, we don't want to become just apologists, you have to reach out to various organizations because you have to share the work you're doing, but also you have to learn from, like Father Anthony said, right? We've seen in AIOPA they are doing a great program in catechism for 12 weeks. It's like, wow, that's a great idea. Right? So you gotta stay, you cannot stay as you gotta reach out and take things.
I don't know if we have so much agenda as what we're trying to accomplish as this is under the bishops, they said this is what we want to see. And so I think we have goals, but expectations and agendas, well, that we have to manage. This is what God has called us to, let's do this work well. But Florian kind of is a big picture guy and says, he kind of sees where as we say in the business world, the SWOT, the T part of it, where are the threats? Either for, making us a useless organization or trying to do too much. And so we need that balance. And since he's the tallest one in the group, he looks smaller on Zoom calls.
On the too much front, are there, I'm not sensing any, but are there any limitations that have been imposed on you, like from the assembly of like, you can go this far, but don't go there? Sky's the limit. So anything that's organic and feels right and people are interested in doing, that's awesome.
We keep of course, His Eminence or His Eminence involved. They're on all the emails. They know what's going on. All those things. We have people from the assembly, bishop's representation from the laity. Bill Mirianis is an example. Nick Anton. These are all representations that are on there. They receive our communications. They see what's going on. Nothing is hidden. Nothing is kept from them. Our periodic reports that they ask, Florian is always fantastic, comparing those reports and saying to them, and the reports that they see are the same ones that we present. He's like this, we're always going to forward that stuff over to them. So there's nothing ever not shared with them. So it's interesting. I don't know what happens in the meetings, Your Eminence. I'm not there. But hopefully they print some of these things out for you to see and to see what's going on. So that the other hierarchs can see the work that is being done here, since it is part of the strategic plan of the Assembly of Bishops.
And as Toni mentioned, and Father Christos as well, we have the Chronicles is actually a monthly newsletter in which we publish everything that we've accomplished, what are the plans, and we send that out to them. It's available on our website for subscription. So it's all transparent, it's all out there. So, I guess we got a couple of minutes here for some other Q&As.
I just want to share that I think it's amazing for such a young, you said you were a young organization, but a lot has happened for the past few months, and I think it's great. I was triggered by the accepting that we're working on unity when I thought that gives me in my mind that actually we're not united, and that didn't sit very well in my mind for a while. So I was thinking more of a maybe this is facilitating, preserving the unity that we must have. So in my mind, I'm arranging my thoughts.
You're not, I mean, we don't think about it, I mean, that's the goal, right? But we've never thought about it as we're not united.
I know.
I look at Father George and I go, Orthodox priest, who does the services the same way, they're just in the Romanian language, because that's the need of the community that's here.
Yeah.
We've served together at the cathedral. I've served here many years ago. We've done other things together. The auxiliary bishop of Episcopacy was at our cathedral. He stood up at my wedding when he was a layperson. Lived with me, for a year. I mean, it was for me. I don't think about other Orthodox jurisdictions as not together here at Adventa, because we talk so much, we get together so much, we go to other places, we go together, but the mandate, the goal, right? So we're using that language because that's what we're.
Yeah, and I'm just sharing.
Of course.
What happened in my mind when I heard that? I'm just sharing.
The first word of the presentation is enhanced.
Which is great. And
so that's how it's assumes there's already something right there.
What we have is we straight.
There you go.
And I think it's more of an mistake, so it took me a little while to put this in my perspective, but I'm very happy with what you've done, so.
Structurally, right, are you in a legal entity, like, or it's all for, like, are there finances or something, or it's just all volunteer stuff?
All volunteer.
No budget.
No budget. I mean, we've been blessed because the communities have been willing to help in the ways that they can. So, again, I can only speak for the cathedral since I'm there, but we've never asked the Brotherhood or anything that we do to say, can you pay, can you give us money to use the facilities, for the food, whatever it is.
Are there needs of the organization to?
We'll talk in a second about a fundraiser, so prepare your checks.
There you go. There you go.
It's organic in that it uses the gifts and the desires of the people towards this goal. So it's kind of it runs on air.
And, you know,
Pneuma.
And electronic communication is very helpful because it costs you nothing, to send it out, so that's always a good thing.
Is there a timetable at which you'll start rolling this out, in other cities?
Good question.
Really good question.
Yeah, so from a pure mission perspective, we are in touch with Akron through the Assembly of Bishops as well. So we're like Father said, we are in touch with Nick Anton, who's Director of Operations at the Assembly of Bishops. He's very familiar with the work. So we're going through that line to establish, like, if you want to think about this as being an organization with a very clear objective, that's the line we're going with. But then we're using events like this to share the work such a way that, whoever is interested, just reach out. We'll make time to go through this presentation if needed again. We had very recently here, we had our local Serbian church joining AIOPA. People join at different times, perfectly fine. We say, hey, let's have an introduction. We had a meeting with them, say, this is what the stuff is about. You can't just say, go and read, right? You gotta engage in a dialogue. So we are all willing to do that because we understand it takes time. You have to invest time. You have to invest in relationships, like Father said. You have to talk to convince people to address those fears, to temper a little bit dreams, make it real, right? So this is what this is about. Then they say, yeah, we are in. We are like fully in. Yes.
OCL is trying to ask, sorry, I want to extend it. OCL is also trying to ask ourselves the question of how do we help, nationally, as a national organization that's advocated for this kind of work.
Well, how we're helping is that this presentation will be on our website.
There you go.
And our website is very large, so it can be seen as a good practice. Maybe somebody else in some other part of the Chicago area where they have many churches might pick it up. Because you can only highlight good practices on unity. We've been trying to do that for many years.
Akron is very different than Atlanta too. They have a different emphasis. They have a different flavor, if you will. They're really focused on, I guess, more on service outreach sort of thing. So that's the natural development that we find. But that brings the people together and they support those things together.
So what's the biggest barrier to the mission? Like what has been the most difficult, seeking Orthodox jurisdictional unity, clergy brotherhood, etc. What's the biggest hindrance, if you will, to enhancing that?
So is your question specifically to AIOPA or in general?
You guys, yeah, your organization, yes, AIOPA.
So let me start that, and then I don't know if there is a big thing. I don't know if there's like one big thing, you solve that, everything rolls. No, it's tiny little things. That's how it is, right? And you have to work in developing relationships. You have to work in maintaining relationships. You have to work on education. You have to work outside with the higher ones, right? There is work that has to be done in all these places. Is there something that prevents us? I don't think so, because we are where we are. Will things help? Yes, we identified some of them and we spoke about in maintaining momentum. So I don't think there's like one big thing that's stopping us. I don't think that's the case, but will there be things like if we make progress on some areas, will they keep maintaining momentum? Absolutely so. We're also patient with ourselves. It's a volunteer organization. We do the best. There's commitment and responsibility. It's not like, so it's serious. But on the other hand, again, we have to look and take it one by one. And like I said, sometimes we need to talk to John. I say, John, well, I don't want to be there because of this, and no, this is the guy, oh, thanks for letting me know. Okay, if you want to jump, that's how I can put it on that.
And that's the point, is it's a matter of education. We're not big enough to fight it. In other words, people are just finding out and getting to know and signing up, and so it's very organic, but that's probably the biggest obstacle is exposure and education. Branding, they may think you're something you're not, and then when they find out, and you go, oh, okay.
I mean, you talk about like branding, right? One of the easy requests that we asked is to say, and we sent that out to the whole group, was that can you please just put a link to the website from your church website? A nice, easy gesture so that people can start. So when you start talking about it, they can see it, right? And most of them did that. And also we saw traffic, skyrocket on the website. So small asks where we can to start getting the exposure. And then when people start talking about it, the other day in the community, I heard it from the group of seniors. They started talking, they said, oh, did you hear that the group, they couldn't say the name, but they started talking. I was like, okay, good, that means that the information is getting out. It's taking some time, but it's getting there.
Yes, I've noticed on the agenda, the AIOPA fundraiser for children's health care event. Is that a segue that you want to talk about?
We can go into that now, yeah. So, one of the, like Father Anthony presented, right, one of the intent that we have is for AIOPA to do things that are larger and more impactful than a parish or a group of parishes can do. So we want to do that. We want to be, as like Pan-Orthodox organization, we want to be more than the sum of individuals. We believe there's value in when we bring things together, we create a startup. We want to do that. Okay? So we're looking for some of the initiatives that are easy to be done by parishes. They don't require a lot of resource and effort for a parish to contribute, but we can get larger participation. And so one of the proposed activities is going to start here in the month of November, but it actually starts here today, is a fundraising for children's health care.
That's an established 501c3.
That's an established organization. They help the hospital here locally. And so we want to do that. And the amount doesn't matter. What's important is we all rally around the cause. And this is the first. We want to do like, and then grow from there. So that's why the amount doesn't matter. It's just, let's get that understanding, let's get the participation so everybody hears about this one, everybody's on board with this one, and supports the particular cause.
Thank you all for everything. It's wonderful. I won't be able to join you for the rest of the conference because today is just a light day at the cathedral, 2 baptisms and a wedding. So nothing overstated for us. But it was wonderful, and I thank you for the opportunity to be here, Your Eminence. Thank you for allowing me to speak and to be here with the organization, through Florian and the rest of the committee here. And it's just wonderful to be in your presence, and thank you all for your warm welcome, and for all of you to pray for your success. And whatever we can do as well, we're here for you along the way. Thank you very much.